with a quick little song here too. We're just like waiting. I think Shailene's going to get us on here.
Okay.
Yo, hey, 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 yo, hey, 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 oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. Hey yo, hey hey yo, hey yo, hey hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey hey yo, hey oh hey oh hey oh, hey oh hey oh hey oh, sha ha hui. Right on. Hey everybody. Uh, how's it going? I think we're on. If we're on, somebody give me a thumbs up. Uh, if you could hear us, I'm going to turn off my phone here and everything. On. Hey, welcome to the Native Wellness Power Hour. We are on week 50, program 281. Wow. And this program is being sponsored by the Noise Foundation. And my name is, I'll do it in an introduction. I just want to just say, hey, thank you all for being here with us and coming on. And I got a guest here and we'll just introduce ourselves. So proper introduction. Kaya yaktu asal takten tana kat kau kita kau tu kandu ai khutsiti which kitanyeria khata I shiktihini tu asal slenketa waya flagi Filipino kai hak kona chish anya khusani kona chish ho. So I just said hi, and my name is Gene Tagaban. My Slinket name is Kayal. I'm of the Duck Dane Ton clan, Raven Freshwater Sockeye clan from Hoona, Alaska, the child of a Wishkatan Eagle Shark clan from Juan in Juneau, Alaska. I'm Cherokee, Slinket, and Filipino, Cherry Clinkapino. And and right now I'm here on the land in the area of the territories of the Coast Salish people, on the land of the Puyallup people, right? The shadows of the mountain they call Mount Rainier. The traditional name is called Mount Tahoma. Right? And I'm in Ruston, Washington right now. And it's really good to be here. I'm going to turn it over to my brother over here to have him introduce himself.
Thank you so much, Gene. Appreciate you. Um, my name is Chucho, but I'll go ahead and introduce myself also. Traditionally, Mishpancinco no Mañolque, no Nancy Leonor, no Tatsin Juventino, Lewana Toka Chucho, Nichane by Seboy, Iwanostin Copone, Marisela Tutuli, Gigi, Sewalo, Kaheme Wanteta Viecti, no Tesiwa, Maria, Nicalpoli, Teoshikali, Ni Udebe, Yoeme, Tlamanalca, in Tlaticpac, Tuatepe, Tlamanalco, Autumn Jewett, um, in Tlazocamara, Chilea, Hecanao, Campa, Ilicayolo, and Tlayolo. My name is Jesus, but I go by the name of Chucho. That's my grandma called me that, so it's kind of stuck. And I'm out here in the desert area of it's autumn territory, more specifically the Taana autumn, and it's beautiful clear skies today, nice cool breeze, and we're surrounded by some lovely mountain ranges. So we're in a little valley area, so I'm happy to be here with all of you all. Thank you for the opportunity to share space with you all.
Right on, Chucho. And I'm just bringing him on. And today we're talking about a men's wellness journey. And part of that too is on our men's wellness journey too is learning about how to introduce yourself. Learn how to introduce yourself and who you are and where you come from. And that's that sense of identity and a sense of place. And it was my uncle. It was my uncle who told me. He says, after I got my Slinket name, he came up to me and he looked at me. He says, "Now you have a place under the sun. Now you have a place under the sun." And he was just giving me that sense of belonging, that sense of community, of clanship, uh, uh, of spirit and honor. Now you have a place under the sun. And as we're talking about our men's wellness too, so many of our men, it's like they don't feel like that they have that place under the sun, that belonging, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And I just want to share a little bit of I met Chucho. I met you through an organization that's called the A Call to Men. And both of us are involved in it in some way, and that's that Call to Men. And I just want to let people know that I've working in this movement as far as male engagement and getting our men involved and to stop the violence and the hurt, the harm, and the abuse of all women, of all LGBTQ relatives, BIPOC relatives, of all. And I was told that one of the greatest threats to the health of women are men. And that really struck me. That really that hurt. It hit me deep, deep down inside. Of that, men, we're the greatest threats to the health and well-being of women and our relatives as well. And oftentimes I can't help but reflect on my own journey as well in this healing. And so in this work, I also work with the Alaska Network on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault up in Alaska to stop the violence. But I just want to get back to how I met Chucho is through this organization called A Call to Men. And you've been working with them for, you said, about 4 years or so. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and starting to work with them, or just whatever it came up to you'd like to share?
Sure. Thank you so much, Gene. I appreciate it again. I think for me, the story of me trying to understand my own identity as a not only just as a man, but as a native man, is really connected to these relatives from A Call to Men. And I call them relatives because I know it's an organization, but I feel like it was a human connection that took place. And uh, uh, there was a local organization here in Tucson that was doing men's work, engaging men. And for me, I'll be real honest, I wasn't ready to do that work. And especially part of it was that there was a lot of white men in a lot of those spaces, and I was really struggling with receiving any type of guidance or feedback or mentorship from white men. And so I was really reluctant to get into that work. And it wasn't until A Call to Men was providing a training around a high school curriculum, and that's been my passion. I've been working with youth for 20 years now, and I didn't anticipate what was going to happen at this 3-day training. I thought it was another cool curriculum to learn about power dynamics and oppression and liberation and justice, and it was, but I didn't realize it was in that moment when I was there getting trained that I realized like my complicity, like the ways that I had participated in harmful behaviors, in abusive behaviors, not only with the women in my life, but with children, other men, because of these like really rigid demands around manhood. So I really appreciate it. And that was my journey. That was my initial journey with them. I was like, man, I got a lot more than just this curriculum. It was a realization that it came to that made me want to come back to Tucson and not expect this local organization to cater to me and really just dive into the work. And so I did. And I've been doing this work with youth and adult men since then. And it's been some of the most challenging work that I've had to do for sure on my journey. But it's also been very liberating for me. So I'll say that much.
Right on. Well, it sounds like there's a shift that happened, and just the other day I was with a group and we were talking about judgments, and judgments that we have with other people, and even judgments that we have, specifically we were talking about judgments with uh, gay men, and those, and as you know, out in our reservations and communities too, there's a lot of homophobia,
Hmm.
and and so I really had to I kind of look back and what were my judgments on that, because I was like, and when you get into this work, when we're working with men and the wellness of men, the healing of men, and the liberation, like you said, the liberation of men, you can't help but look at yourself, eh? Can't help but look at yourself and look at your own stuff, your own journey, your own story. And part of that too was for me was taking a look in that mirror too about my judgments, the judgments that I was making with other people, not just with our our uh, LGBTQ communities, and gay communities, homosexual communities, but even those judgments I was making outside with other people, other heritages, other races, and even the judgments that I was really, all that was just piling on myself, all these judgments I was having about on myself, man. And I really had to take a look at that. And it was then that I was telling people, it was then that a shift happened. And that's what we're talking about. When did the shift happen, with many things? And that was then. And that was probably I was about 24, 25 years old, where I started to really make that shift with that. And I'm just saying with that specific thing, because there's so many other things that are attached to it, you know. And so it's like, and that's it. It's like just making that shift. How can we make that shift, and that new awareness, and that healing, you know? And again, thank you so much. I just want to reach out to everybody out there. We're the Native Wellness Institute, and this is our Power Hour. We're on week 50. This is program 281. And if you just tuned in, I'm with my brother here, Chucho, and we're talking about men's journey to wellness, men's wellness journey. And as we're talking about this, if you have any questions for us, put it down in the chat. Throw it in the chat, and we have Shailene who's monitoring that, and she'll if any throw us any questions out to us, um, and so thank you again all for joining in and watching. And this is because this is a huge issue with our wellness, and part of this too, I really need to take a look at the shift that happened for me too, was learning about the colonization of our people, the colonization of our men specifically, and I'm kind of calling it that collective colonization of Native men. And I know it's like had to do with the residential schools, the taking of the land, the Indian acts, and what are your thoughts a little bit about that too, and how has it affected your people and your tribe in your area?
I I I would say, Gene, like, I mean, I think you and I were just kind of joking about it, right before we jumped on here, right? Because I think the impacts of colonization and colonialism, like, one thing is important to acknowledge is that it wasn't an event that happened, right? A lot of people say like, oh, this happened to us long time ago, and but it's an ongoing occurring thing that is continues to affect us today. One, with things that were established through policy, laws, and the ways those things are regulated and maintained today. I think it's kind of goes with what you're saying in terms of a shift of how we perceive ourselves and our environment. And there's a lot of one, we don't see ourselves represented in the world, and when we do, it's a misrepresentation. And so I think that says a lot about who we are as human, as two-legged. in relation to all of life creation. And I think that's one of the main things that was taken from us in this colonial process was our kinship to Mother Earth, to all the things that we consider our relatives. And unfortunately, that also means the women in our lives, the elders, the children, those that are most vulnerable in society today. Um, that's how I feel that's been one of the greatest impacts is this sense of objectifying um, living, breathing entities in our environment, and knowing that we're a part of that, we objectify it and then we view it as property. And so that shift in thinking and viewing our cosmovision as Native peoples, and it's been detrimental to us. There's a lot of induced self-hate that came as a result of that. And I'm thinking about our wellness, how detrimental it's been to our overall holistic wellness as a people and as men, right? Like, what does that mean for us in our manhood um, when we don't see ourselves or we see misrepresentation of ourselves, and when we feel alone and isolated and forgetting that we're never alone. We're so connected to everything, but yet that's one of the first things. And I think you spoke to that right when we started. Like how connected we are to the world around us, and yet we forget to. It's a thing that has been forgotten.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I just want to, just jump onto that too. It's like even just the, let's just go to the place of the Constitution of this country, where
mhm,
all people are, we the people. When I say we the people, that sure as heck didn't mean people of color. Didn't mean people of color. And so again, the objectification, and taking ownership of property, and that just, it was like a mental illness. To me, it was like a mental illness that just kind of like infiltrated its way and just made its way across the country about this belief system and this illness that just kind of went into the minds of the people. And then that, and seen as, gosh, I just can't help but being so grateful to our ancestors. I mean, the struggles that they went through. We think we're going through struggles now. I mean, yes, we did. We think we're going through trauma now, which we are, but the struggles and the traumas that they went through, and, and just, I can't imagine like the children just being ripped from their arms and taken away from them, and then being brought back a totally different type of human that they couldn't even recognize because it was out of their frame of reference, of their frame of experiential reference. Going to the boarding schools, the haircut, and just told that you're less than. Don't speak your language. Don't eat your food. Your dances and your ceremonies are bad. Um, and just that, and then how it affects us today. But I just got to acknowledge the resiliency of our ancestors, what they went through, and everything that they went through. And I know that I tell people is that we've all been dreamt into existence. We are the dreams. I know dreams and prayers exist because, those ancestors from long, 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 long time ago, they're real because here we are. I'm sitting with you, man, and all those other people who are out there listening, and so it's like that. Again, my appreciation for our ancestors, the struggles they went through, and because that colonization was, it's a mindset, and it's still happening today. It's still going on today, and I also want to say is that the colonization of not only just our Native men, or native people, indigenous people, but the collective colonization of um, and I don't call them white people anymore. I've been calling them non-colored people. You know, the colonization of non-colored people, because that happened even before it came over here to this country, this continent. Of them, those people over there, the colonization that happened to them as well, and we see the effects on it, in this country with all men. And I'm saying that too because our native people, our relatives, our native, they are in relationships with men who are white, non-colored, men who are black, Asian, of all races. And so it's like, sure, I want to see the wellness of our men, our native men, but also I want to see the wellness of those men who are working with our native communities. I want to see the wellness of our men who are in relationships out here on the reservations or in urban areas with our native people. Those men who are working in the hospitals, health services, and so it's sure I want to see the wellness of our native men, but I want to see the wellness of all of them because they're still working with our people. No.
Yeah. No, and I would agree. I would agree. And I think for me, and I think it's going to be an ongoing struggle for
Oh,
me to be in those spaces. But I'm also so grateful to the reality that I was able to be vulnerable and say, like, I'm gonna do this work because I can't wait for all racism to stop, right? Before I start playing a role in the defense of the women in my life and all women, right? And I met some beautiful relatives that were non-color, non-indigenous, that in the way that I grew up, in the way that I was raised, and the folks that I had been exposed to, unfortunately, I had experienced a lot of violence, a lot of trauma with my exchanges with non uh, people of color, non-indigenous people. So when I started to lean into that work, I found there's a lot of beautiful men that were also willing to be vulnerable in the challenges that they go through, in the ways that they're socialized, and what I think we're gonna maybe speak a little bit to it, but through the man box, right?
yeah, man. Why don't you touch on that man box? I know
Sure.
there's a lot of that's a new concept. That's a new way of seeing things too. With not just for the native people, but just in men in general, but definitely out here in the res and on the villages and stuff too. Is about that man box. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. And I really appreciate the term. I know that the brother Tony Porter, he came up with this term within Call to Men, and they've been talking about it ever since. And another way to say it is the collective socialization of men. And to me that sounds a little fancy. So when I hear the man box, is simplified. And what I would like to say about it initially is that it goes back to what you mentioned earlier about a shift. And because the man box unfortunately begins when we're children, when we're little boys, we start to be fed ideas, right, about what it means to be a boy and what it means to be a man eventually. And what I mean by the shift is that there's a moment when we're little boys where part of our whole selves is celebrated, right? Meaning that we're allowed to be our whole selves. We're allowed to laugh, giggle, wear whatever we want, cry, show a full range of emotions in relation to our humanity. And then there's a moment And for some little boys, it comes really early, and for some it may come later. But there's a moment where there's a split. I would even say a split, right? Like a shift, but a split where that's taken from us. That innocence is taken from us. That emotional awareness is taken from us, and we're told, "Don't cry, toughen up. You're gonna need to work hard all the time. You're gonna need to be athletic. You're gonna need to be the strongest. You're gonna always need to win. You're gonna need to provide. You're gonna need." There's all these roles, and I'm not saying that those are necessarily bad, but when that is the expectation all the time, that's what makes it so challenging. And then there's rules to it. Don't be this way. Don't be that way, right? And a lot of it is creating a distance between what society views as feminine today, right? So don't be too loving, don't be too caring, don't ever ask for help, don't ever show that you're weak, don't ever show fear. And that's why I think they call it the man box, because it's like we're trapped. We can never act outside of those roles that are given to us in the man box, and essentially we become trapped. And it's like we're limited in our capacity to be full human beings, because we're distancing ourselves. And as a native man, I would say we're distancing ourselves from the earth mother, everything that the earth mother teaches us about her femininity and our capacity to be full human beings. And so that man box, it's we're being socialized. And I'll say this is, I'll say this briefly. I think socializations, and I learned this from a young man, younger than myself, he taught me that so the society has five agents, and this is just one way to look at it. But he said it's religion. He says it's the schools, institutions. He said it's the media, it's our family, and it's our peers. And those five agents are the five agents of socialization. And he asked, what do those five agents teach us about being a man? And what does it teach us about women? Right. And we could ask those same questions about all the other identities. But those are things that we're constantly being influenced by: our family, the school system, media, they go hard, right? Our peers, um, and then whether we have a religion or not, our spiritual practices, our philosophies, what does that teach us about um, being men in relation to women, in relation to trans women, trans men, or non-binary folks? So that's what I just always remember him saying that, because I feel it's a continuation of colonization, is this socialization process that traps us in this man box.
Right on. Very well explained, man. And again, just imagine a box and all those stereotypes that are out there yet we hear on social media, on television, movies, or in music. Again, it's like of what they say about men, about men are tough, men are aggressive, don't be homophobic, or we have no feelings, or our emotions, we have no emotions except for anger. And then we devalue women, and we see them as property, and us as more than them, and and that we're always supposed to be strong, and we're definitely not asking for help, and to not showing weakness, or being sensitive, or all these things. We get stuck in this box, man. We get stuck in this box that you're just talking about, that man box. And I've been there. I've been there. I've been in that box, and it's doing things like this. We earlier we talked about that shift, that shift. And it's about really taking a look in the mirror about how this colonization of men, this colonization of our people has influenced my thinking to be unhealthy. And when I start taking, we have this conversation like this, or I take a look at that man box, and those of you can like just Google on man box on there, and you'll be able to see it. And Shailene, you can even put me on as co-host, and I might be able to bring up an image. But then it's like that I've seen myself in that man box, man, and I need to, how do I get out of that box? And so let me, just bring up this here. Maybe I can bring this up if I can get in here. Again, I'm like not good at this. I might be able to find it, or I might not be able to. Nope, I can't find it. So anyways, I was going to bring up an image of this man box. But so now what?
Well, I was just,
So it's one of those things, we always call people out and say, okay, and one of the things I want to encourage people to is like, when you see that you're people talking inappropriate, when you see people who are like objectifying women, devaluing our relatives, LGBTQ, people of color, Black, Indigenous people of color. When you see that, and I just want to say is that when I've known that, when that happens, I've been with my buddies, I've been sitting around the table with family, aunties, uncles there, I've been there. And when these things come up, I've known it in the back of my mind or even in the front of my mind, and I didn't say anything about it. But I knew it wasn't right. And I just want to say is that we've got to start speaking up on this. We've got to start saying something. And it's one of those things that we're calling people out of that box. We're calling people out of that square. We're calling people out of the box. And you see, for instance, right now, who Governor Como is being called out. He's been his deep in that box, man, and he's being called out. But the thing is, how our motivational strategies work. If we're moving away from the man box, we're being called out of the man box. We're being called out of all those that stereotypes and getting caught in that. We need something to move towards. We need something to move towards. And so that one that I call is that collective re-indigenization of men, the re-indigenization of our people. And how I see that is it's not a box that we're calling them out of the box, but we're calling them into the circle. We're calling them into the circle. And within that circle, that sphere is that just that that resiliency, that pride, that love, truthfulness, strength, our cultural languages, our cultural ceremonies, and that hope, representation, and we're calling them out of the box and we're calling them into the circle. Into the circle, and part of that inside that circle is that education too. What are your thoughts on that?
I really, well, first, I just want to say you gave me the chills when you said that, calling them out of the box and into the circle. And I appreciate you. So I just want to say that right now, because that meant a lot for me. verifying and validating for me. And so thank you for that. And I would agree. I would agree 100%. I feel that there is so much medicine in our culture. There is so much medicine there and within our practices, within our belief systems, the things that we still have despite everything that we've endured. We persevered, we are resilient, and yet there's all this wisdom there. And I think about us reclaiming the narrative, when these relatives arrived from across the ocean. They 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 wanted to see the world the way they saw the world. They wanted to see our communities and our societies the ways that they wanted to. They saw that, they asked to speak to our leaders, and a lot of our leadership were women, were grandmas. A lot of our societies were matrilineal. We had matriarchs, and somewhere along the line we lost that sense as well. Just, they didn't value that, but we have always valued that. We have always valued the life givers. We've always valued those messages, those advices that we've received from the women in our lives. And um and we and we need to be able to reclaim that relationship to Mother Earth. I think about our drums, how it represents that heartbeat of our Earth Mother, and the teachings that come up about us being in the womb of our mother, and hearing that her heartbeat and hearing that drum, and all these beautiful teachings that come from our respected lineages and our heritage, and just being able to tap into that genetic memory. And it's there, an opportunity to heal, because there's so much healing that we need to do. But yet in that healing, there's also ways that we could grow and continue to contribute in all the ways that we do. But I really agree with that 100%, that we need to slow down and really appreciate um, what the women in our lives continue to demonstrate to us, in all the ways that, when we think about strength, we think about women. They have been the strong ones in our communities, in our tribes, in our nations. And so there's a connection there between indigenizing, right, and re-indigenizing, reclaiming it, um, that will teach us something about our full humanity. So I agree, and yeah, I definitely want to be a part of that journey, because I know the times that I've been fortunate enough to listen to the grandmas, and the women, and even the nieces, and our daughters. They have so much to teach us. They have so much to teach us, and I think that man box has done something to us where we're not listening, we're not paying attention, and we're not even believing their stories, their experiences. And yet, that's not our way. As Native people, that is not our way.
Mhm.
We have to pay attention to the earth, so therefore, as an extension of that, we have to be attentive to the women.
Right on, man. I was told that by an elder. He said that the healing of our earth is directly equal to the healing of our women. And if
Mhm.
our women are going to heal, we as men need to heal as well. And this is globally, man. This is globally, because women all globally are being victimized and and devalued and seen as property. And so it's like, and I agree with you, man. The greatest, some of the greatest influences in my life have been women, my grandmas, my aunties, my mom, my wife, and the children, those little children too. Yeah, and it's one of those things too. In this country, I've been taking a look at that, just the industrialization, the capitalization, and the colonization of this is all about ownership. Ownership, they then that whole mindset about ownership of this land, of Mother Earth, and that was not our way. That was not our way. And but we're seeing it perpetrating its way out. And I truly believe that the global transformation is held within the wisdoms of the indigenous peoples. We were held as caretakers of this wisdom. And it's up to us to share that and be present to it. Voice it out. We're not giving away ceremony. We're not giving away sacredness, because there's some of there's things that are out there, just natural universal truths that come from the earth. Those universal truths that come from the earth. One of those universal truths to talk about too is like when we walk on this earth, that the earth accepts our footprint in the same way that accepts the footprint of a man, a woman, big, small, rich, poor, black, white, red, or yellow. The earth accepts our footprint in the same way that it accepts the footprint of a deer, a bear, coyote, a mouse. It doesn't care. And the earth and Mother Nature and the earth too can just strike you down as fast as anyone else, and it doesn't care who you are. And just like the sun, when the sun shines on us, the sun shines on us and loves us the same way as anybody else. So there's that mindset, just that of just re-indigenization of people. And you said something that I heard somebody talk about too this other day, about that genetic memory. Oftentimes, I see this with so many people, it's like, it's like when we lose a limb. For instance, if we lose a limb or lose a finger, we still feel the pain. We still feel as if it's still there, as if it's still there, as it's still moving, that it's still attached. And that's a phantom pain. And what that is, is that energy. That energy. And that's just like when we get taken away from our culture, when we get taken away from our ceremonies, our songs, our dances, our identity of who we are. We still feel that phantom pain, that is still there. It's still there, and that's in our genetic memory. Just like we've lost a limb, but it's still there because it's energy. And it's always going to be part of it because it's that genetic memory that we have. So right on, everybody. I just want to say thank you all for joining us. This is the Native Wellness Institute, and I'm here with my brother here, Chucho, and we're just talking about Native the men's wellness journey, men's wellness journey, and so. What do you got coming up, man? I mean, I really like this conversation, and we can keep going on. I like to bring other people in. Anybody have any questions out there? I'm taking a look at the chats. Mary Lee, I see you out there. Right on. Annie, I see you out there. Paul Pike, brother. Right on, brother. Good to see you out there. And good to see our relatives out there. I want to just give a shout out to Mary Lee because she's a Haskell rascal just like I was, we went to Haskell at the same time, and And she saw me when I was just a crazy youngster, just crazy, and didn't and thought I knew everything, but I didn't know anything, man. And so we've grown up, we've come a long way, Mary Lee. And so just see you out there on the chats too, and I want to say Zona. Zona is a great artist, powerful Native woman. Our men need to reawaken. Many have become lost, not honoring Mother Earth, women, and children. What is the first step? We must address the truth, heal our wounds, and become warriors of the light. Yeah. And that's it. We got to talk the truth. Even that common, we all have to have that common story, that common, within the schools. They got to teach the history. They got to teach, the truths, not just according to them. What is the true history of this land and of the people too? Yeah. Hey, thanks, Donna. I really appreciate that, because we are all that light. We are that energy. We are that energy. Hey, so what do you got coming up, brother? I want you to ask you about some of the projects that you got coming up, or the work that you have.
Sure,
This work.
definitely. Yeah, so with the call to men, we're gonna be having these virtual talking circles. So it's inviting indigenous men throughout the country, and but we don't want to stop there, right? Sometimes we think about indigenous identity, and sometimes we limit it within a nation state, and some of the way we understand that a lot of the borders are superimposed. So we want to be able to again, the same way that we're breaking out of that man box, right? That we're breaking those boundaries as well. So there will, the invitation is out there, and there's opportunities because it's online, it's virtual at the moment. And so we're going to be meeting once a month. At the end of the month, I believe it's going to be the last Wednesday of the month. We will meet for an hour and a half, and discuss specifically indigenous manhood and what that means in our own respective communities, because we are so diverse, right, in so many different ways, and yet we're real fortunate and blessed because we share a lot of similarities and commonalities in relation to our understandings. So yeah, so this is going to be virtual talking circles once a month, and these will start taking place this month. So the first one will be March 24th. There is a registration process. It's a short process. You register, and then it commits you to participating in 10 sessions. So we're going to have this ongoing for 10 months till the end of the calendar year, and then see where it could go from there. And it's creating a space for us to be with one another and learn from one another, be able to grow, but then also move towards action steps in our communities. What does it look like for us to do exactly what Gene was talking about, right? How could we exit that man box and enter that circle and do it in a way that really honors who we are as Native people and really honors our ancestors? And so that's, and we, it's not a whole lot of time to do that, but it is some time that we're going to be carving to do that. Yeah.
Right on. It's about having the conversation, and moving forward, and like we just said, getting out of the box and going stepping into the circle.
Mhm.
The circle. And so what link and how would we find this? And we could put it on the Native Wellness Institute site as well. But some of them out there right now, I just want to know where they could find this.
Sure. So you could go to the A Call to Men website, and it's under the community events. I'm trying to find it right now so I could maybe, I could definitely share it with you, Gene. And then that way, maybe if you all could put it on the website, or on your, however you all communicate, through your social media. Um, but yeah, so It's virtual talking circles under a call to men. So we have it under. So it's pretty accessible. I apologize, I don't have it right now. I'm trying to
Oh,
grab it.
that's okay. We'll get it, man. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it on there. And I'd like to also just let people know that, let me see, where's it at? We got some upcoming trainings with the Native Wellness Institute as well. And so, shoot, I just had it. So next week we have with Theta Newbreast will be leading that, and it's just called just some of the concepts of the Gona training, gathering of Native Americans, and how it's been used in your communities, and it's been used in your circles too. And I believe that's on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then on Thursday and Friday we got another training with the Native Wellness Institute on being an ally, and those aspects of being an ally, and that's on Thursday and Friday. So check it out on the Native Wellness Institute um, site. And I think Shailene just put into here. Yeah, she put on here a call to men. She put the chat in there, the link in the chats. So thanks, Shailene. You're awesome. You're awesome. And I think she just sent me another thing here. Oh, right on. And Chucho just put it in there too, in the chat. Cool.
Yeah, I'm a little slow on the technology. I apologize, but I did find it, so it's on there.
Dude, you're slow on the technology, man. I'm like non-existent on this. I'm like lucky I'm here on Zoom right now. Hey, everybody. Thanks, brother. Any last words before we start closing up here?
I just really want to say, I really want to stress the importance of men being able to do this work with other men, right? And as we're doing that, centering the experiences of women, right, and of our communities, but really leaning on one another to do that. There is so much medicine and healing and power in being able to be vulnerable with one another, and it does take a lot of courage, right, to show other parts of ourselves that we've always been told by the man box to don't be that way, and we typically don't hear each other out. We don't vent with one another. If we vent, it's viewed as complaining. But I just want to really invite all especially the men that are listening today to do that with one another. Show up for one another in ways that is loving and compassionate, and also be willing to challenge one another when you see that there's harm taking place. So that would be my message. And I just feel really blessed for being here today. And thank you, Gene, for the invitation and the opportunity.
Right on. Thanks for coming on, and thank you for the work that you do. I also want to take a shout out to Paul Pike, who's way over there on the East Coast there, brother. I hear you, man, and love to do some work and with you, and maybe we can meet in this virtual talking circle and come together and do some work, man. And Paul Pike's a brother I met up in Alaska, and he moved from Alaska back to his people over on the East Coast. And then I see him on the Facebook, and he's looking good, playing music too. And so with that, with the Native Wellness Institute, and thank you, Chucho, for all your words. And that's it. Just to we got to get involved, and we've just got to step up, yeah, and to be vulnerable. And I want to say this thing too, just to have courage, but in order to have courage too, courage and vulnerability are just go hand in hand. Courage and vulnerability. In order to have courage, you need to be vulnerable. In order to be vulnerable, you need to be courageous in this work. And I know some of you out there, you men, I know the sisters out there are like going right on. We need our men to step up. And I know some of you men are like sitting there and your chest is a little heavy. You're getting a little feeling in your guts, you know, in the back of your mind, you're talking to yourself going, you know that you can do something. You know, we can be better human beings, better elders, you know, and what can we do to be part of the solution, to help our people, to help your family, to help yourself, you know, and so thank you so much. Thank you. Konachish, and ya Hosan, ya ewe hai ade, konachish. Oh, and so with that, we're just want to say, yeah. Oh, got reminded about t-shirts. You want to go on the Native Waters Institute site, you can see the trainings that are coming up. You can register with their shirts on there, and then the Call to Men site, and check out the virtual talking circles. You know, if you know sisters, if you know any men who would benefit from this, send them on over. There's no charge, right, Chucho?
There's no charge. It's absolutely free.
Just show up. Show up. You don't even have to say anything. You just like sit there and just listen. Part of it too is just like you learn so much just from listening, you know. And so my name's Gene Tagaban. I got my brother over here, Chucho, and we're both involved in the healing of men, male engagement, to stop the violence, the abuse, the hurt and harm against all. I want to stress that all women, LGBTQ relatives. Hang on a second here. LGBTQ relatives are and our Black, Indigenous people of color, you know, and so thank you for joining us. Native Waters Institute, week 50, program number 281. So tomorrow we're going to be on with I think with the staff and the board with the Native Waters Institute, just going into week 50th. You know, it's been a year, almost a year, that we started these programs when things closed down. And we started these programs because we knew we needed to respond to people traumatized and re-traumatized and, you know, and triggered by this pandemic, the closures, the social justices that's going on, the riots, everything, you know, and so we're going to be talking about that tomorrow with the Native Waters Institute staff board. Coming to join us, you know, and thank you so much. Take care, be well, be a blessing. Take care of your spirit. Take care of your spirit, you know, and what are you grateful for? And what are you grateful for? So with that, just like to sign off. Gonna choose. Thank you. You know, and you know, Chucho, don't leave yet, man. Don't leave yet. So with that, thanks, Shailene. She's our background producer here, and signing us off. Thank you. Until next time.